The following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of CATV2, Oshkosh Community Media Services, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hi everybody, welcome to Eye on Oshkosh. Cheryl, Hentz, and Dan Rylance here, and we're very pleased to welcome to the show an old friend. Oshkosh Police Chief Scott Greuel is here, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different stuff tonight. So anyway, thanks for being here.
Welcome.
You were supposed to be here a couple weeks ago, and we had to reschedule it because of something with you and something with me, and so we're happy that we're both here tonight.
Well,
so.
thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure.
Sure. We enjoy having you on. You're one of our favorite guests. Right out of the bat, let's talk about community policing.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was kind of your brainchild, if you will. That was something you started. And how is it going?
Well, it's going very well, but it's a work in progress, obviously. We've made some huge improvements to the way we do things, but it's a work in progress, and we're continuing to evolve. But we have some great successes. And of course, what our community policing is, or team policing as we call it, is a mixture between community-oriented policing and problem-oriented policing. And we want our officers to be more community-oriented, more problem-solving focused, and more data-driven. And I think we've come a long way towards that. Some of the successes that we've had over the past year that I'm very proud of, and officers are having fun doing it too, is the relationship that we've built with the Boys and Girls Club and the at-risk youth there, and the great interaction that's going on with our officers in uniform that stop out there and interact with the kids and kind of be a positive influence in their lives. And Mark over at the Boys and Girls Club has just welcomed us with open arms, and we'll go play basketball with them and dodgeball and teach them internet safety and all those kinds of things. And from that, the Boys and Girls Club is kind of a microcosm of the larger community, and we think those positive interactions are going to pay dividends later on. And those are the kinds of things that we're seeing from that community-oriented perspective that's working out very well, and officers are having fun doing it. And it's my wish or my goal or my hope that at some point some of these kids that are being mentoring there become police officers for us someday.
Oh, sure.
And then we'll know that we're being successful. And so we've taken that model and we've kind of rolled it out in other areas of the community as well. We're mentoring some kids at school, and we're seeing some real problem solving occurring at the neighborhood levels. And our goal is to build a safe community neighborhood by neighborhood. And so we're getting out, we're talking to people more, and I think people are becoming a little more comfortable talking to us. But we're not there yet. It's a work in progress.
Well, and I know Dan and I both have some questions at some point here about Neighborhood Watch when you talk about neighborhoods and so forth. But, you said it's a work in progress, and as a work in progress, you build on the things that are working and you kind of scrap the things that aren't working. Have there been some things that you guys have maybe tried with this team policing or community policing that you had high hopes for, but just for whatever reason didn't work?
Yeah, one of the things is you alluded to the Neighborhood Watch. We kind of empowered, or we're hoping that a certain real community group in the Stevens Park area, more on the east side of town, there was some real grassroots kind of advocacy for our Neighborhood Watch and helping us expand and try and develop that citywide. And we have real high hopes that this citizen-led group could really take it and run with it and help us develop it, where we had cohesive involvement citywide in Neighborhood Watch, attending meetings and people coming to see the value of the district concept to them. And it didn't really materialize as we thought it would.
You canceled the monthly meetings. Was that the group that you didn't?
Well, they're still holding the meetings, and of course we support
Okay.
what they're doing, and we're not. It's not in our best interest to try and stifle any community group. But we've kind of refocused ourselves and repurposed ourselves a little bit, and have gone back to our district concept as it relates to community policing. The Neighborhood Watch has grown over the years. Just a few short years ago, we had 43 block captains that were registered with us. Now we're up almost to 200, a little over 190.
Wow.
But the purpose of this is to try and get complete buy-in from the community and stay active and involved. And so we have to help them kind of understand what's in it for them and show value. And we weren't necessarily getting that with this community-wide executive board kind of concept. It wasn't really a city charter. It wasn't really a recognized board with any authority. It's just a bunch of citizens that were really interested in, and I hope they continue doing the things that they're doing, in particular in their area, which is mostly the Stevens Park area, a well-developed neighborhood watch that we hope continues. But I also want to see more active participation from my officers, and even though we were very well attended at these meetings, we need to get back to the basic philosophy of our district, concept, and that's, the districts, our officers, our supervisors, our team members in those districts kind of lead that. And we've had a number of meetings already. My expectation is that we have at least quarterly meetings, probably more to begin with community members coming in, holding them either out in the field or at our office, and just do some problem solving, problem identification, but meet the officers, and so that they know who to reach out to. And then from there, we start to add value to the things that matter to them in their district. It's a little easier, I think, and time will tell, but it seems logical that it would grow and develop more if you're focusing your attention on the things that matter in that district, as opposed to trying to make it a one-size-fit-all community-wise. And it was a little bit of that going on. But I certainly appreciate the effort of that executive board that was working, and they continue to meet and talk, and there's some leadership evolution that's going on. And I certainly support neighbors continuing to do that. But for Neighborhood Watch to work, I mean, we need to be closely working with them, and that, so we've kind of repurposed ourselves there.
Well, one of the things that I found frustrating with the executive board, and you don't have to, take a shot at them or comment even if you don't want to, but one of the things that I found frustrating is they seem to be very hung up on this untreated lumber as being, just this horrible thing that is going to wreak havoc on every neighborhood where there's a home that's allowed to have green lumber, and it brings in all kinds of unsavory elements of the community, and it brings in crime. And I just think that is the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard. And if they are going to focus on that issue as their primary thing, they're missing the boat on what Neighborhood Watch was started for and should be about.
Yeah, and I'm not going to, criticize that. I think you're right, but I think in order for us to succeed with that is we need to understand what each individual neighborhood and community in the districts are their problems. Mm-hmm. A certain extent of what you were describing is the broken windows theory, and if you tend to have dilapidated houses and buildings in disrepair and all that, it has the potential to breed crime.
Sure, that is one thing,
those
but
kinds
green
of
lumber
things.
is...
Right, and I think you're right. I mean, there was a long-term kind of emphasis on aesthetics and those kinds of things, and of course we want Neighborhood Watch to be much more than that. Sure. Each neighborhood has their own issues, mm-hmm. and one of the successes that we've had in the Middle Village area which first of all was a ground up kind of success in Middle Village. They termed themselves a name, which is exactly what we want as neighborhoods to give themselves an identity. And you know, officers will walk with residents, and we call them neighborhood walkabouts. And you just go around your neighborhood and get to know the officers and just identify problems that are going on in your specific neighborhood. So, you know, it may be green lumber somewhere, but it's not green lumber throughout the community. And I think you're right, and that became a constant kind of focus of the effort. And for us to be successful, we need to continue to work with our partners. And I know, you know, Habitat for Humanity and NeighborWorks and AdvoCap and all those community organizations that are trying to help us build safe communities and do their own thing that they do to build a stronger community. We absolutely need to work with them. And so some of those things are their issues. But you know, what is happening in the Near East as it relates to that isn't necessarily the issue in the West Side Business District. And so by kind of channeling that focus to the district level, it'll help our officers kind of understand what is life for you like in your neighborhood, and what are the concerns that we need to know about. And we need to have officers taking more of a lead role when it comes to that kind of interaction. So I'm excited about it. We really just started to repurpose or refocus ourselves January 1. And a few of the teams have had meetings that have been hugely successful. And it's a lot of listening, really, to what the neighbors are saying.
I live in a high crime area. I live kitty corner from Boys and Girls Club on Parkway in Monroe. And a couple of comments. One is, I can call the police 236-5700 and they can be there in 5 minutes at the most. They're really quick on getting there. I haven't called as much this year as I did last year, but still quite a bit. And if you see that little diagram in the Northwestern where you have those little things, you know, it looks like someone took a paint gun and went right over my neighborhood, you know, from Maine over to the park, from New York back to the river. And it's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. Not serious stuff, but just a lot of stuff going on. I don't sleep a lot, and I'm older, and I read a lot of mystery novels, so I'm kind of like that old curmudgeon that sits in the house that I can't remember where I left my car keys the night before. But if you come and ask me what happened across the street at 12:30 or 1:30, I could give you a really good report because I see what happens across the street at 1:30. And my parents, my neighbors probably think I'm nuts. But a couple things I see that disturb me. One is daily speeding on East Parkway. I can't believe people can go over the tracks going towards Bowen, and by the time they get by my street, only a block away, they're going 40 miles an hour. Or when they turn on East Parkway from Bowen or they're coming up, they're going 40 up to the tracks. And I have a couple concerns about that. One is the increased number of kids that are at Boys and Girls. It's really a school. There are no signs there other than railroad crossing. But really, there ought to be signs that says, you're kind of entering a school zone and you ought to slow down to 20. Someone's going to get hit because they're all around that bus coming and going. The bus stops at the corner of East Parkway and Monroe, bringing the kids in, then picking them up after 5 or 6. There's a lot of activity. People are just going back and forth. It's something that's going to happen sometime, and I see that daily.
Yeah. Would speed bumps help?
Well, I think they would. But it's a high traffic area for people that walk, and it's a high speed area for cars. So I just share that, but I see that every day.
These are exactly the kinds of conversations that I want my officers to be as they insert themselves in the neighborhoods and talk to the residents that are up all hours of the night watching. And if those things aren't reported or discussed with us, then we don't understand or know about those problems. And so our kind of refocusing neighborhood watch, you know, kind of starts the initiative for us to have that dialogue. And I think that can be hugely successful. Now, this problem is not new to us. I mean, we're aware of it. You should be seeing officers all the time at, you know, at the Boys and Girls Club and on Parkway. But, you know, this is the kind of problem solving that needs to occur then. And the only way we're going to understand that is by talking to people and figuring out kind of the outside the box kind of resolutions for that, and now not the same old way.
The new one is panhandling.
Yeah.
My wife about 2 months ago gave $5 to someone for gas. Well, everyone from that neighborhood, they're over in Bowen, I mean, they're there every week. So this guy came and hit me up 2 nights ago around supper time, and he got pretty violent with me. And I just said, he said, I need $20. My girlfriend and I don't have any gas. I need gas. And I said, do I look like a banker? Oh, I know you're not a banker, but can't you give me $20? I said, no, I'm not going to. And I said, you know, this gas line is really run out of gas because you guys are hitting me with that every other week. It's always the gas. You don't say groceries or anything. It's always gas. And then he walks by and hits my neighbor coming home from work from the Roxy and asks John for $20. This happens regularly. Yeah. And this was the first time where I felt, not real scared, but I kind of backed up into my garage that, this guy was really, he was really mad at me because I said no this time.
So he came to your house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Either the door, if they see you in the yard, they hit you. And they come right up to you.
That certainly is an increased phenomenon that
It
we've
is
seen, and
increased.
it's not unique to Oshkosh,
Yeah.
and I think the economy has something to do with that. But, and
I'm not going to call the police. I'm going to handle this.
well,
I know.
I think I certainly would encourage people to call us, especially if there's street level violence that are occurring or people are coming to your home and are they casing for other kinds of crimes or whatever. I mean, these are the. I always encourage citizens to call us and give us that information because it could lead to something a little greater. I try to be sympathetic and sensitive to the plight of some people and the downtrodden, people that are truly in need. But, one word of advice, and it sounds probably uncaring or unsympathetic, but the problems will go away if people are just not handing them the money. And the more that money comes out, the more they're going to hang around in those areas. There certainly are many other community kind of entities, United Way and a whole ton of the agencies that they serve, where people can contribute and help those that are in need, as opposed to just handing people money on the street that could lead to more serious things. And I think there's ways in community help where those dollars would be better served that way.
I agree. Last year it was breaking into cars, but all the neighbors this year, we always lock our cars. Just some nights you come in and you forget it, Oh, where's my GPS? It's gone. Or what happened to that stereo? It's gone. And we all got hit last year, but all of us this year, we're always locked now. But that was a common occurrence last year.
Yeah. Who do you suggest? Well, first of all, let's talk about the panhandling. Is it illegal or is it not illegal in the city limits of Oshkosh?
Well, it's a difficult circumstance.
Yeah.
It depends on where they are. If they're on, government property, there's a little less we can do about that because it's government property. As long as they're not blocking vehicles, not jumping out at cars, not blocking pedestrian movement, it isn't illegal. We don't have an ordinance against it. Where we enforce laws would be if they become too disorderly or they're threatening for the money, which borders on robbery then if there's a threat of force. And my sense is that these kinds of incidents are underreported. The teams are well aware of the frequent flyers, so to speak, and where they hang out, and we try and do the best we can to move them along. But simply not, continuing to feed that trough, so to speak, they tend to move around a little bit then. But I think we've seen an increase of it, certainly. Our hands are somewhat limited. Some of the efforts that have happened nationwide have been challenged in court, and successfully challenged in court. ACLU has gotten involved in some of them, and so it's really kind of a delicate circumstance for us. And where they cross the line is when they start to get too violent or threatening about it.
This was close on my last incident.
Or I suppose if they're on someone's private property, whether it be a business or a individual residence, and they've been asked to leave and they won't leave, I suppose that's another.
Give us a call.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to move them along.
Okay.
But if they're on public property and moving and not doing these other things as I described, it's somewhat limited depending on the circumstances, and it's also very difficult when we don't have people calling and complaining and want to file a formal complaint. There's about all we can do is warn them and move them along.
Sure. And speaking of calling, you know, of course, you know, I think most of us know or can easily access the 237-57 or 236-5700 number. But do you recommend calling that number for non-emergency type things, or do you recommend that they call their actual, you know, I don't know what you call them, if it's a, you know, a district captain or district leader, whoever the officer is that kind of oversees that particular neighborhood or zone?
The answer to that is yes.
Okay, so they can do either.
They can do either. I
Okay.
mean, certainly the 236-5700, our non-emergency number, is available for people to call, and that's historically been the way people would access our services when it's a non-emergency. Of course, if it's an emergency, you dial 911,
Right.
and that gets the fastest response, the priority response. But the reason why I say yes to your second part is if we're really getting to be successful in our community policing and our team policing efforts, I want that personal relationship with the officer and the citizens, and I want the citizens and the stakeholders in each district to know who their officers are and feel comfortable calling them directly. All the officers have a cell phone. They're handing out their business cards. We've got lots of opportunities to educate the community on how to specifically call their officers. If you go to our website at www.oshkoshpd.com and you click on the team policing link, you'll bring up a map. So if you click on that map where you live, it'll bring up all the names of the officers in that district, their phone numbers, and it'll be an email link as well. So if it's a non-emergency circumstance, and maybe it's a nuisance kind of thing, and these quality of life issues that you describe in your neighborhood are the things that we really need to be focused on, because that's what prevents crime and the fear of crime and all those things that make safe neighborhoods. What citizens need to understand is sometimes that particular officer they're used to dealing with may not be working on that particular day, so if they're calling their phone, leave a message, they will get back, and I would encourage them to go to another team officer then. The officers are getting very good at being responsive to that and dealing with problems. And in my mind, that's one of those performance measures that I know, that I'll know when we've gotten there, that team policing is meeting all of our goals, is when citizens are starting to utilize that more than they are. And they are now, and there's some very good partnerships occurring, but not to the extent that we need to be. And so I certainly would encourage them. And part of the reason for that is I think our citizens would be more comfortable dealing with the same officers that they feel are familiar with the particular problems in their neighborhoods. They don't maybe have to restate issues a number of times. And I think they just, the more you get to know someone, the more you are apt to talk with them about things that are important. And people should not be afraid to call us. I mean, I hear a lot of times, for a lot of different reasons, people are just fearful of calling, don't want to bother you, not sure it's a police issue. Call us. We would rather go and respond to something and have an opportunity to meet somebody and talk with them and find out it really is not as big a deal as maybe they thought, than for it to be a big deal and we missed an opportunity to, keep a neighborhood safe.
Sure. Give us the website again, Chief.
www.oshkoshpd.com.
And maybe we can put that up on the screen too
idea.
before the chief leaves us this segment. And if someone is, not really using the internet, or they just don't want to do it, they can always call your office and find out, just give their address and find out who the officers are and
Absolutely.
their numbers. So.
Absolutely. They can call either a crime prevention officer, 236-5742, call that non-emergency number, 236-5700, and just say, hey, I know I live in District 3 or whatever the case may be. Can you have a district officer come out and talk to me?
Okay, all right. Since you've started the community policing thing, have you seen a reduction in crime?
Well, that's kind of a moving target.
Okay.
Police don't always want to take the credit for when crime goes down, and don't want to take the blame certainly when crime goes up.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what we have seen. Right now, we have seen a downward trend in crime. And as you know, 2008, 2009, we saw a very upward trend in violent crime and the street crime and some of the things that you had mentioned, in particular robbery. And a very common theme, or a significant contributing factor to that increase in violent crime, was drugs. And you know, of course, last year, working very closly with Meg, we had the heroin conspiracy case, and we continued to focus on our drug, control measures and strategies. So all of these things, I think, have an impact. It's certainly our team policing. The more we talk with people and get to know them and resolve these things, as equally debilitating as actually being victimized can be just being fearful of being victimized. And so that relationship and that we hope to continue to bring with team policing helps to kind of, calm that. What we saw in the initial years of our team policing effort was a dramatic increase in the reporting of incidents to us, which told me that our officers are out there talking, they're feeling a little more comfortable doing these things, and our calls for service went up by 6,000 a year.
Wow.
And so, it was kind of worrisome as to whether we were staffed appropriately to be able to handle that. Well, we're starting to see a tapering of that, and we're on the downslide of the bell curve, which people can do a lot of interpretation of what that means. To me, it means some of the partnerships and relationships that we've built, those things are being handled proactively now and aren't necessarily the result of the need of having to pick up a phone and call and be reacting. So for us to be successful, another component of that is proactive prevention. And so I think a little bit of this that is happening, and consequently, some of those crime stats are going down. We're seeing a tapering of some of the violent crime. Of course, we know drugs are still out there, and we got to continue to make an impact there. But our robberies are down, our aggravated assaults are down. We're still concerned about the assaults around some of the high-risk locations like taverns. But, we're starting to see that. Now, criminologists will tell you there's a lot of different reasons for that, obviously, just demographics and age group and all those kinds of things. But I think we're seeing some positive things.
Okay. One thing I also want to mention, we didn't talk about, and it's not really a question per se, but something I just kind of want to pass along to the viewers, in addition to or as a part of your team or community policing, people can subscribe to, get, I'll call it a newsletter for lack of a better word, from each district or from your own district just by itself, and I think that they can do that by going to the website also.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's really informative. I mean, there's every call in that area, whether it's just a noise complaint or, a theft or a burglary or what have you, if there's a call to that area, it's listed on this report.
Absolutely, and our website is an access point for that as well, and they can sign up, and that has been a great source of information sharing between us and citizens, and that has worked out very well. And we want to expand in that, and we have a presence on Facebook, we have a presence on Twitter, and we want to expand in those areas to make crime reporting through those mechanisms and kind of appeal to the younger generation as well that are probably more apt to text message something they're seeing as opposed to getting on a phone. But that's been a great source of, and it's becoming more two-way information as well. But we certainly encourage people to sign up for our newsletters, and there's a wealth of other kinds of things on our website. We have what's called Neighborhood Update, where you can go and sign up, plug in your email address, kind of select an area on the map where you live, give us your email address, and you'll receive an email indicating when some kind of police-related incident has happened in your neighborhood. And it'll be a proactive email, and it'll cause you to kind of go into the link then that's in that email to find out what kind of incident it was. And it's an effort to try and educate the community as to what's going on in their neighborhood, and a source of also initiating a conversation.
You might be getting emails hourly.
One other observation about my neighborhood: if you're enforcing the ban on parking from 2 to 4 to
2 to 5.
Yeah, it's not being done in my neighborhood at all. And I could tell you the number of cars that are parked there usually are doing something that they shouldn't be doing.
Okay.
Either parties or some drug pickups in 2 or 3 places. But I haven't seen anyone get ticketed in my neighborhood for at least 2 years on that ban. And it'd be good picking over there.
Well, I'm taking notes of all the things that you're saying.
I don't want to use, but I mean,
And
this is a microcosm of,
Sure.
of what we're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Is it time to end the pub crawls? Are you tired of those?
I'm certainly not supportive of the premise of these. I think it's a danger. I would think that you would expect a public safety person to say that binge drinking and involving activity around overconsumption of alcohol is not something that should be supported. Having said that, I think they're probably here to stay, despite if we would try to stop them, I'm not sure, that we can. So I think it's in the best interest that the organizers of these events follow the rules as it relates to special events and work with us and work with the participating taverns to make it a safe event as possible. My only concern is public safety.
Sure.
Would I like to see them go away? Yes.
Yeah.
Having said that, we know that there's going to be future events. We know when they are. We have to plan to staff them for safety, and I think it's in the interest of the organizer of the event to work with us and not try and work against us to make it a safe event.
Is communication better than it was, say, a year ago?
It ebbs and flows.
Okay.
More recently, based on some of the efforts and the meetings that we've had with all the stakeholders, I think we've seen a renewed communication. For a while, the communication was non-existent, and that's no way to organize an event.
Another one coming up mid-April, right?
April 14th.
Okay.
Since concealed carry has gone into effect, I think I can recall 1 or 2 incidents that have maybe been listed in the newspaper or reported on. Right. Have you seen an increase in problems or incidents related to that?
Yeah, my worst fears have not really materialized. We have had 1 or 2 incidents that probably would not have happened except for the fact that carrying concealed is allowed now. My biggest concerns initially was the fact that there was not a strong training component to it. Didn't even require anyone that was going to carry to be able to show competency with it. And so, my concern was twofold. One was that normal law-abiding citizens that would handle conflict situations rationally, maturely, would, because they're, carrying a weapon, would resort to problem solving in that way in the heat of the moment, and we would see more street violence and resolving disputes that way. We've had a couple incidents, one in particular that I know would not have occurred otherwise. The second concern of mine, and I haven't really seen this yet, and I hope I don't, that citizens would start to become complacent because it's more commonplace. And I don't have a total understanding of how many permits have been issued to Oshkosh residents. We don't have access to that database.
Right.
My concern was with complacency and people leaving firearms in their vehicles, that we would see a rash of and an increase in theft of firearms. And now you have what is meant to be a very lawful kind of and constitutional kind of thing in the hands of the wrong people.
Yeah.
I still have that concern. We haven't necessarily seen it yet. I hope we never do.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, our time is up, but thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it.
It's just not enough time.
No,
There
there
never
isn't.
is.
No, no.
More
There never
topics
is.
than time.
There
I
is.
know.
Yeah.
Well, but we'll have you back again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will be talking to some folks from Habitat. So we'll be right back.
Every year, the U.S. Department of the Treasury receives about 1.4 million reports of problems with paper checks. Checks can be lost, stolen, or delayed. If you still receive Social Security payments by paper check, Treasury wants you to know about a safer, more convenient way to get your money. The Direct Express Prepaid Debit MasterCard. The Direct Express card is new and is available to anyone receiving Social Security benefits, even if you don't have a bank account. Your monthly benefits will be automatically placed onto your card account each month on the day your money is due. While other debit cards cost money, it is possible to use the Direct Express card for free to make purchases, pay bills, and get cash at thousands of locations nationwide. There are no sign-up or monthly account fees. No more waiting for the mail or worrying about lost or stolen checks. Call 1-877-212-9991 or visit www.usdirectexpress.com.
And welcome back to the second half of Eye on Oshkosh. And we're joined now by, let's see, Tim Hess is to my left, and to his left is Dan DeGrief. Tim, you are the past president, and Dan, you are the current president of Habitat Oshkosh. Is that it? Or what is the official, or is it Habitat for Humanity Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative, which is a mouthful to say?
Well, the organization is Habitat for Humanity of Oshkosh.
Okay, so
our newest program is the
so
Neighborhood
that's what you
Revitalization.
are
Correct.
past president and current president of. Okay.
Yep.
Because I didn't quite, I knew you were probably related to Habitat for Humanity, but I wasn't sure in what way. And so this is a good clarification. It is Habitat for Humanity Oshkosh, but you're here to talk about a new neighborhood initiative.
A new program, you
All right.
betcha.
All right.
And I already gave the name, but I'll say it again. Habitat for Humanity Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative. Tell us what that is really, you know?
Well, you know, Habitat's mission is to provide, you know, simple, decent, affordable housing. And the way that we have implemented it here in Oshkosh and the way Habitat International has implemented it is through building houses for low to moderate income families. Of course, approximately like 3 years ago, I think Habitat International kind of started saying, well, it's a great effort that we're doing, but we're also losing low to moderate income people having nice housing by the fact that, you know, maybe their house is falling apart. And so we should focus on also keeping those people in the houses by getting in and helping repair houses. So it's really just an extension of our mission of trying to keep low to moderate income people in nice housing here in Oshkosh.
Okay. And when did you start this initiative?
Well, it's still just starting, I would say.
Okay, all right.
We're rolling it out right now. That's
Okay, well,
part
that's
why
good.
we're here.
Yeah.
We love it.
We love it.
We love it.
Yeah.
So Habitat Oshkosh is going to be this month accepting applications then from people. And we're talking to everybody, getting people understanding what it is exactly that we're doing. And hopefully this summer then we're going to really start getting out there and doing things for them. And really what it is that we're planning on doing with this neighborhood revitalization is, you know, it's really three major phases or three components that we could do to a house. One is called the brush with kindness, which is kind of, let's get in and do some simple repairs or maybe do some landscaping or painting, things that aren't necessarily vast in scope. A second thing that we would do would be weatherization stuff, getting in, putting caulk or looking at insulation or anything that we need to do to make sure the home is tight and secure and energy efficient as possible. And then the third thing would be critical home repair.
A major renovation, maybe.
Potential, yeah.
Okay.
If there's, you know, a porch is cracked or something or something's falling off, we can go fix it. You betcha.
What are the qualifications? You said that you're going to be taking applications, this month. We're taping this on the 15th of March, so you're starting to take applications right now?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I guess we should find out how they apply, but in addition to that, what are the criteria that they have to meet? Are there certain income levels, or?
That's a hard one to define.
Yeah.
We're working through that right now.
Okay.
But it's a little bit different than what we do with our home structure, where we,
Okay.
it's low to moderate income. With this, we're looking for partnering families or a community or a neighborhood that could use some repair, even around maybe some of our current homes that we're working through, maybe to spruce the neighborhood up and give it a little better curb appeal. So I don't know that there's really a definition of the families and that we will accept yet. It's going to be case by case right now, I think.
I mean, it is that they need assistance. And then you get into the question of what does it mean to need assistance? Clearly, low to moderate income is going to need it. The elderly, the disabled people, they would need it.
How about co-hosts of High on Oshkosh?
Co-host of High on Oshkosh? That's where we're pretty flexible.
Oh, yeah.
You can,
We'll talk after the
We don't
program.
get paid for doing this.
certainly. I mean, I think, we're open and flexible.
Okay. All right.
If there's a family that is constantly working and that makes them over our income threshold, but everybody says you could really help this family out,
Yeah.
we would consider that a need and
Okay.
we'd get in there and do
Okay.
it.
So do they have to, what kinds of proof of income do they have to show you then in order to establish that they're low to moderate income?
Same thing that we require for the house. We would ask for pay stubs or last year's
Okay.
tax returns.
Okay.
We don't do formal background checks per se. We trust people
Okay.
and
Okay.
report it to us.
We
but-
do all right.
We would, yeah. Probably qualify.
Yep.
Okay. And so how do they apply?
They can call Habitat Oshkosh, check it out on the website. The phone number is 920-235-3535 or habitatoshkosh.org. Either one will lead you to an email that you can or call, and first thing that we'll do is just kind of an initial screen, try to understand what is the need, what kind of magnitude is it? Is it something that we think that we're going to be able to serve? If we get past that, then we'd ask for a formal application to kind of really detail out what the need is, what the income is that you're having. Would send somebody out to actually go look at what the proposed scope of work is and evaluate.
Can I ask one follow-up question real quick?
Absolutely. We're going to do your house. You better ask me more questions.
What are we doing for you, Cheryl?
So and this is going to be a tough question probably for you guys to answer because you don't know the scope and in detail of which you're going to have to do a project. But do you have some sense of how many projects of each level of these three levels that you described you could take on?
Well,
And do you do this year-round?
I think it will be a year-round function.
Okay.
The neat thing is if we're not building homes and we don't have people work on homes, we could be working a lot more of these projects. I think it depends on the demand for what we have and also the funding to do the projects we have, because some of these projects we go through might be $1,000 to go spruce up and paint something. Some of them could be, if we were to redo a porch, you might be $10,000. So it's really going to depend on a lot of them factors before we move forward on stuff.
Okay. And where do you get your funding, and do you require any kind of sweat equity from the homeowner?
certainly we do.
Sorry.
Funding, if you guys want to donate too, we'll take it from you.
I knew that was coming.
So you're not really getting it free. There will be a charge.
Yeah, our funding comes from where we always get our funding from. We go and solicit donations from the foundations, go to businesses or people in the city, come and that's the amazing thing about Oshkosh is they're always willing to help support us. We've got our restore open now, and that provides building materials. People will come and donate building materials. So if we got something there that we can use, we're going to take it out and not try to get money from it from the restore, but go and use it on these houses. Like Dan was saying, it's kind of tough to say how many we can do. I can say some things like Habitat International has a partnership with Valspar. So if it's painting, well, we get our paint for free, so we could do a lot of those. You know, if it's the major home repairs, then that's not going to be free to us necessarily, and then we're going to be limited to the number of those. So, yeah, really, it's a combination of the resources and how we can put it together. The one thing that we've got is a lot of expertise. You know, we've got a bunch of home builders that serve on our build committee. We just hired a new executive director who was a home builder here in Oshkosh for the last 25 years, and he's just thrilled to get out and help do this. So we've got expertise. The other thing that we've got is a lot of volunteers that, you know, we've got a Habitat chapter here in UW Oshkosh that if we were to give them the opportunity, they would build all of our houses for us. They would eat up all of our house building opportunities. So we've got a whole slew of people that are excited to come and help with Habitat. So we've got the manpower and we've got the expertise to do this, and we're putting together the resources. We think we can make a pretty major impact here. And, you know, we're collaborating with having discussions with the planning department here in the city. They're looking at partnering with us, and NeighborWorks is looking at doing the similar type thing. We've been in meetings with them. So I think the city will see some help from us, but also through all those other entities too. I think we can make a major impact.
I'm going to try to make this brief. I'm concerned, like, hypothetically, if you do a $10,000 project in my house, that my assessment on my property is going to go up and I'm going to pay more property tax. Is this what would happen? Will you get a permit from the city and then they'll come and assess it, and I look at my thing next year and it's increased and my property tax bill goes up?
Well, typically, depending upon the scope of the renovation.
Okay, well, let's say it's fairly major.
I mean, if it's fixing something that was existing there,
Right.
you shouldn't see a substantial
I would hope not.
tax increase. But you betcha, we're partnering with the city. Everything we do, we're going to go pull a building permit and get it checked out.
Okay. My editorial is that in half the states in the United States, the tax abatement laws would give a 3 or a 5 year grace period to encourage people in older houses to have you come in or do it on their own to make increases in your property and not to have to pay for those increased assessment costs for a 3 to 5 year period. But we don't have that in Wisconsin, which I think is a real negative, because a lot of states do, and a lot of places are more interested in doing that. Whether you do it or whether they do it themselves, older neighborhoods improve themselves because they don't have to do this for 3 to 5 years.
Sure.
Are you familiar with that in other states, or?
I've heard of that, yes, and
Yeah, I don't.
I certainly realize that people are always questioning why do we have all these regulations and
Right.
stuff that would impede people from
Right.
fixing their house when
And we have TIF districts for businesses. You know, they go, what, 30 years without? But you give a homeowner 3 to 5 years, and then will improve their properties more if they don't have to pay the increased property taxes. End of editorial.
All right, okay.
But you understand the issue.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I know you can't solve it.
Well, and like they said, I mean, hopefully you wouldn't really see, I mean, in your case, if you're talking something really major.
Right. I'm not, but I'm just saying
I mean,
that.
in that situation,
Yeah.
there might be an increase, but
Yeah.
chances are, you know, the city, I think, assesses and reassesses property every 10 years, I think, and so they probably have already assessed it, and then it's fallen into disrepair, and they've never probably lowered that assessment. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Okay, I hear you.
You were talking about some of the folks who are on your board and volunteering and so forth. Dan, have you guys reached out, you know, as the current president, have you seen a reach out to building and construction students, like at the Fox Valley Technical College, for example? I would think that this would be something right up their alley, too.
Yeah, we've reached out to them in the past and tried to open that communication up. Recently, we've had some conversations with some people at the Fox Valley Tech in Appleton, just kind of outlining, you know, what could we do to partner with them. I know Appleton, or the Fox Cities Habitat, does quite a bit with their technical college up there. I think it's a neat program. You know, we had some of our schools, actually, think about it, we had some local schools this year just making plaques up for some of our donors. So we had some neat projects. So we're reaching out there into certain community groups to bring them into our program, because really what that does is, even at the smaller levels or at the younger ages, grows them up through the organization and grows them up through the community, so that when they get older and they can make them choices, then they'll choose to hopefully support our group.
Sure, sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I know Fox Valley Tech actually has a, their construction building program is here in town. They may have one up in Appleton too, but, since you're local and they're local, that might be a good partnership.
Our new executive director was one of the teachers and instructors
Is
over
that
there.
right?
So
All right.
we anticipate a
Well,
strong
then you're way
partnership.
ahead of me. You're
I think
way
North
ahead
High
of-
School used to have one, but I don't think they
Yes.
have that anymore. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, they because of funds they decided
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
What are your goals for next year or two? I mean, you're starting out with this. What do you have any statistics or goals of what you want to hit in your first year?
The one goal that Steve Kaiser, one of our board members, had was to get this neighborhood revitalization initiative rolling. We thought it was a good way to kind of step forward in our organization. We opened the Restore last year. Did great things for us. It gives us a greater volunteer base. So as we start to grow here, we went from one home a year. Now we're up around that 3 to 4 level. We'd hope to continue to grow that for the next couple of years here. And it might be that we maintain 3 to 4 years or for a couple of years here. But really, I think this neighborhood revitalization initiative is going to be a big thing.
Okay.
When you walk around Oshkosh, I know there's some communities and some neighborhoods that really could use it. And Tim and Steve and a lot of the board members have really put a lot of time and effort into this, and I think it's going to be really good for us. When you talk about bringing more volunteers in, because that's really critical to us, the more people we get on board, the easier it is for us to go out and solicit donations, get help to work on projects, make connections in the community. So that's probably one of our biggest goals this year is to get that project rolling.
If someone wants to volunteer, but they're not necessarily real handy with, a hammer and nails or screwdrivers or what have you, are there other things that they can do to help out? Or if not, do you help kind of train them and oversee them? I mean, and they're not just going to be left with some blueprints and tools.
No, we can't do that. No, we have lots of opportunities, and like I said, we opened up the Restore last year. That's probably been one of our greatest volunteer streams. People now, can come in and they don't have to understand how to swing a hammer. But even to that point, on the build sites, we have sponsors that can come in and support by providing meals or working with the volunteers and coordinating what they're doing that day. So you don't have to be an expert by any means, or even understand how to swing a hammer, because you really can get involved at any level in the organization and help out.
Okay. You guys have both mentioned the Restore a few times, and I think probably a lot of people in the community understand what that is. But for someone who doesn't, it's out, you're located on Keller, kind of in the area of, sort of, I think, in between WG&R and Applebee's.
You
aren't
betcha.
Very good.
So, and then I've seen, I'll call them drop boxes, for lack of a better word, in different places around town, I think. But tell folks, if they're not familiar with what the Restore is, what it is and what it does and who it serves.
I mean, I think the easy way to define the Restore is you take a Goodwill and you take Menards and you mix it together, and that's what you got. It's somebody comes and people have excess building materials either in their garage, or builders have excess building materials that's usable, or furniture or doors, anything. You're doing a remodel, you got your old kitchen cabinets, they're still useful, come bring them to the Restore. And the point is that we take that material and turn around and try to sell it to the public. Anybody can come in there, so it's cheap building materials. That helps us raise monies to build more houses. It takes all of this material and keeps it out of the landfill. And it provides volunteer opportunities for anybody that wants to come and help Habitat. It's kind of
What are your hours over there?
It's basically, I think, 10 to 6, Monday through Friday, and then 11 to 3 or Monday through Saturday, and 11 to 3 on Sunday.
Okay, so 7 days a week you're open.
Could you explain your blue light specials that you advertise? There's specials for every day of the week.
Oh, we should have our manager here.
Yeah, that's the Restore manager.
He's pretty creative on it.
They're published in the paper, and you have a blue light special. That's the old Kmart trick. Every day you have seniors are discounts of 20%.
20% off.
I think Senior Day was today.
Was it? Okay, I missed it. But anyway, those are big come-ons because there are significant reductions for each of those days.
Yeah, there's doors are 20% off, or
Yeah,
plumbing
exactly.
is 50% off. For one day, he's got this wheel that you spin that's up to like 80% off.
Yeah.
And he's crazy with how much.
And I think they come in every. I think it's in the Sunday paper
In
every
the Sunday
week.
paper,
Yeah,
yep.
because I
It's
always check it.
reported in there.
You know, I'm kind of frugal and go over there and check and see. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
This is this initiative. While it's new to Oshkosh, it's not a new idea on a nationwide basis. It's been
Correct.
done in other communities. Do either of you have any knowledge that you can really speak of as to what kinds of success it has seen in other communities?
Well, I think the major thing that people point to is that, you know, I think Habitat International started in like 1978, I believe. And in that time, up to this point, they said they've just surpassed the 500,000 houses that they have built.
Wow.
And now this neighborhood revitalization program has been going for 3 years. And in that time, they're already up to 700,000 houses and families that they have supported
That's amazing.
in doing this. So, I mean,
By numbers alone, when you look at what this is going to do, you know, that one of our struggles sometimes is, you know, we go out and we help a family. That's great, and we love doing that. But how can we help more families? So now with this program, you're actually reaching out to a lot more community members than you ever could through one home build.
And of course, you know, talking about things that you need, whether it's, you know, volunteers or supplies or what have you, money is always needed. And if someone wants to donate, for example, to this initiative, as opposed to, you know, the Habitat for Humanity home build, how can they delineate that?
Very easily.
Okay, tell us.
Yeah, and a lot of donors will come in now, and they'll restrict their funds to certain homes, to certain projects. That's not an issue if you come in and you say, you know, I want to be involved, but I only want my donation to go to NRI. That's all separated. We're still one large organization, but we do have lines drawn, you know, between our Restore and our affiliate, and between the NRI stuff. So that's not an issue at all. Yeah.
Is there a way for folks to donate online through your
Correct.
website?
Yep.
yep.
Okay. And can they make that same distinction?
There is a field in there to
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't.
say this is what you want it for and designate it. And
All right.
Cheryl, do you think we have them back in like 6 months or something where you could maybe bring somebody from this new program? We can kind of promote this more. Would that be
that
fit
would
your
be
schedule?
wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You betcha.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. We're down to just under a minute. I mean, what kinds of things would you like folks to know, just real quickly, about the program?
I mean, it's new. It's something that, you know, obviously we're still working out the kinks. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're out here telling you about it. We're going to implement it. We're going to do it the best we can. We hope people will support us in this. The community has supported us with everything, but, you know, I would ask that people understand that while we're going to do this, we can't fix the entire city.
Right.
You know, we have limited resources.
Sure.
We're going to do the best that we can. Give us a call. We promise we're going to get back to you and do what we can to inform you of where we're at in any project. And yeah,
Okay.
that's
All
what
right,
we're
terrific.
looking for.
Well, and speaking of calling, we appreciate you calling us to come on the show.
You bet.
So thank you very
Okay.
much. Good
Thank
luck.
you.
And we will have you back in 6-9 months and kind of, you know,
Give 'em a
see
report card.
where you're at.
Wonderful.
So,
Thanks
all
again.
right,
Thank you.
great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
And that's going to do it for us. We will see you next time. Until then, take good care. Keep your eye on us. We've got All Right on Oshkosh.